Hello, 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 everyone. So my name is Hannah, even though it's spelled with a J. I'm half Spanish and half English, and I'm going to be your teacher for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to be diving into a topic that is so close to my heart. The topic is trauma. What is trauma? This is an introduction to trauma, and for some of you guys, this may be a whole new concept taught in a whole new way, or it might land in a way that's not landed before. I'm actually so excited to present it to you. I know the contents of these 30 minutes can change your life, because I've seen it so many times with my clients, and this was actually the pivotal piece in healing my life, healing my body, and actually shifting my reality. So this is important, powerful work, guys. This is, for me, sacred. But before I really dive into kind of what we're going to be going through, I really want to just kind of ground. Let's take a couple of breaths, and then I'm going to introduce myself. And I'm so excited to spend these 30 minutes with you. I know that this is a pre-recorded session, but you are going to have my contact details at the bottom of this video. And I really want to invite you to share your breakthroughs, your aha moments, what's clicked for you, your realizations, what's new, what's not with me. My Instagram is at the bottom, and my favorite is to hear people speak about their experience working with me. So now that's been said, let's close our eyes. And I just really want to invite you to arrive in the room, to ground in this space, to really be present during this session, because this is important work. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, and we're just going to start to take one long inhalation through our nose and exhaling through our mouth. Making sure that exhalation is slightly longer than the inhalation. We're going to do it again. Starting to switch on the parasympathetic nervous system, relaxing the body, and again. The invitation here is to start sounding with the exhalation through the mouth. Even if this feels weird, I'll explain it later. 2 more times at your own rhythm. Just becoming aware of the seat beneath your glutes, your shoes, or the floor beneath your feet, feeling the sensations. Is the floor hard or soft, warm or cold? How does your body feel today? What's your inner climate? What are the feelings, the inner sensations that are present for you? Some of you guys may already want to run away. It can be a bit frightening to just check in. Just making it super clear that we don't have to be describing anything from a positive tone. We're just practicing presence and awareness and being in our body regardless of the feeling. What is your inner landscape today? And just remaining in neutral attitude around whatever is present, whether you feel spaciousness and joy or tension and stress. Just allowing ourselves to receive this information, because that's all that it is. It's safe to be here, and I invite you to let go of any of the things that you have to do and just bring in full presence for these 30 minutes. Opening your eyes and coming back to the space. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So like I said, my name is Hannah, even though it's spelled with a J. I'm a best-selling author. I am the founder of the School of Integrative Healing. And I'm an expert in integrative healing. Now, if you haven't heard the concept integrative healing, that's because I have coined it. It's not common. Most people speak about holistic healing, but this is slightly different. It's actually my mission for this to become a normalized term, something that people truly understand, because I feel that this is a revolution in healing. It's important. It's an understanding that I think that we need to gather as a planet. Integrative healing, in essence, is a multiple modality and a multiple dimensional approach to healing. So when I was younger, I was really introduced to healing from this very single plane, specialized approach to healing and health. And we can see this in our medical system. You know, people become doctors in this very generalized course. The first course to become a doctor is generalized, it's holistic, it's global. And then people specialize. And there's been this paradigm that specialization means being more advanced in something. And actually, my understanding of health and healing and how the body works is the opposite. Yes, we need specialization, but we also need people who are, I mean, the old-fashioned term is a polymath, who have specialized in numerous things and have a global picture of health and healing and how it all works together. And this is really this principle of multiple dimensional is what I mean when we bring this to health and healing. It's someone that has the understanding of the physical body and how the physical body works, and then also how our emotional body and our mental body works, and how the spirit works, and how our spiritual body works, and then also has an understanding of energy. Because the truth is, even though we have over-focused on the physical body in our society, we are multi-dimensional, and we actually can't negate that fact. More and more people are awakening to this and teaching from this place. But all of my courses come and all of my teachings come from this very multiple modality, multiple dimensional approach, an understanding that when we speak to health and healing, that we can't speak to the physical in separation from the emotional, the spiritual, or the energetic, right? And here's the beautiful thing. When we start to speak about healing with all of these concepts, right, from the physical all the way to the energetic, people start to have remarkable results because it is designed to work together. And actually, my understanding from this really landed when I did my studies in shamanism. And I know that might be a bit out there for you guys. And it was out there for me. Like, secret, my dad was like, oh my God, Hannah's joined a cult. When I started doing this work, and actually when he saw the impact of my life, it went from fear to gratitude that I'd found this. And the shamans always said that there are 4 governing principles in the universe, 4 governing principles, right, that are behind all levels of creation, whether that's our health or our external reality or anything else. And that is the physical plane that we can see, the emotional and the mental, the spiritual and the energetic. And, you know, hearing that for me just changed the whole trajectory of my life. Things started to make sense. I started experiencing healing in areas that I hadn't prior, even though I'd been very, very committed and doing all of the right things. And that really leads me to my journey. To share a snippet for you guys, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I do think it is important to hear this example so you guys can actually see why this is important in life and practice, right? But I've been in the healing world since I was about 19, so this is 11 years ago. At 19, it was really one of these years of crises for me. It was, I believe the universe was actually shifting timelines for me to bring me to where I am now, but I didn't see it that way at the time. I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and an eating disorder. And to be honest, even though it didn't make logical sense on the outside, I had been struggling with depression since I was a very, very young child. And when I was 19, it kind of all immersed. It came out that my mum had been, you know, journeying with depression since she was 19. She had her first breakdown, and she had her worst depressive episode when I was in the womb. And there was a lot of, suicide ideation. I'm going to go deep, and I'm going to be very brief here, and then I'm going to move on, right? I took antidepressants in the womb, and I always felt that pain, even though it didn't make logical sense. And so at 19, I was actually diagnosed with depression, and I was put on the same medication that I took in the womb, which is wild. And things in my family really started to be spoken about. Until that time, no one had spoken to me about depression. Everything had really been put under the rug, in the hope that if it wasn't spoken about, that it would go away. And I know many people live their lives like that. They're like, oh, just focus on the positive. It will go away. And it's quite a rude awakening when it doesn't, right? My mum was diagnosed with cancer for the first time there. And I started to make the decision that took me to where I am now. And that decision was really that I was going to take responsibility for my health and healing, because I'd seen the impact of someone that hadn't. My mum wasn't educated in health and healing, and she did just kind of put it under the rug, and it meant that she passed away with depression and anxiety, and all of those things were never resolved. And actually, I teach a lot on transgenerational trauma and transgenerational healing, because what we don't realize, or what's not spoken about greatly until now, because I think things are shifting, is actually what is not healed in the family line is passed on. Now, from 19 to about 25, that's 6 years, my health did improve. I kind of got out of the very, very big hole that I felt that I was in, and I really started applying nutrition and yoga and movement and meditation. And I came off antidepressants. I had a desire to live. For those of you that have experienced depression, that won't sound that dramatic, even though it does sound dramatic to people that haven't had this life experience. But I did start to enjoy being alive, which was a very big thing for me, because it wasn't an experience that was very present in my life. And by 25, I came to the realization that even though I was doing all of the right things, so I didn't drink alcohol, I slept more than 8 hours a day, I did, movement, I did yoga, I meditated, I read self-help books, I ate cleaner than anyone else I knew, I had to come to this moment of realization where it was like, oh my God, I still don't feel good. Oh my God, I still don't feel good. Oh my God, my body, still, I had hormonal conditions. My periods were painful. I felt exhausted, stressed. I was chronically fatigued. My relationships didn't work. I was attracting partners that didn't appreciate me or value me or love me. My financial health was not good. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was stressed. I was in jobs that I didn't love. I was actually waitressing full time. And my mum had been diagnosed with terminal cancer by this point, and I'd become a full-time carer. And I had been really, really hit with this realization of like, wow, mortality is a thing. Many people live as if they're going to have hundreds and hundreds of years, and actually our time on this planet is limited, and we need to use it. And I started to live with urgency, but not in urgency as stress, but urgency as in the time is now. And I started to look for something else. I was like, something's missing in the puzzle, something's missing in health and healing, something's missing, because if it was just eating well and sleeping well and not drinking alcohol and practicing yoga and meditating, like I wouldn't feel the way that I do chronically and all of the time. And this is when I started to find trauma work and shamanism and hormone healing and the nervous system and emotional healing and reprogramming the unconscious. And it's all of these different modalities that fit into that structure that I've set for you there, from the physical to the energetic. And it's only when I started to apply that I actually started to heal in very, very shocking ways. people around me couldn't believe the transformation and the velocity that I move at, and I still do. And it is something for people, because for me, shifts happen very fast, and it's because I do the trauma work. And that's what I want to present to you guys today. I want to explain to you what trauma is. I want to explain to you why, and I know my story is strong, but why this is something that all of us, and I don't say this lightly, all of us, right, want to be applying, because it's relevant to all of us, not just war veterans, not just people that have been sexually abused. This is work that needs to be normalized for all human beings alive. And I'm going to come to that, but I want to tell you where I am now so you can see the impact of this. I'm in a loving relationship where I'm truly loved for who I am. That felt impossible to me in my younger years. I have a business that brings in easily high 6 figures, on track to hit 1 million very soon. I started my business 2 years ago, so you can see that has been fast. The chronic health conditions that I was experiencing in that time that I've shared with you. I don't have hormonal imbalance. My thyroid works. I was dealing with an overactive thyroid. That extreme fatigue that I was chronically in is a thing of my past. I feel radiant, full of vitality. It's actually the feedback that I get more so than anything. And here's the big thing for me. I love my life. And that was truly something that felt impossible. So the money and the relationship, and I've moved into a house that's worth 5.1 million, which is just like madness. I would have never imagined that. All of those things are incredible, because for me, my journey stopped being about, can I get better? Can I get well? To actually, what's next? How can I get even better than that? All of those things are gorgeous and beautiful on the material plane. But what speaks louder than that to me is the well-being that I feel 90% of the time. And that's what I want for you guys, right? And this ever-flowing expansion that is available to us all. Because it isn't just about getting well, it's about how can I expand in possibility. And some of you guys might be placed in place in your life where you're like, no, things are really great, but what's next? What else is there, right? What more is possible if we do this work, if we know this work, if we're educated? And it's actually my soul's work, my mission to share this with the planet, because it was 6 years of a lot of frustration for me. I had the desire and the willingness to heal, but the education wasn't available, and it wasn't available in my mum's lifetime. I believe that her ending may have been different if it was, right? So it's something that's so important to me to be speaking about this, and it's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be able to share it with you today. So what is the trauma work? What is trauma? Let's start from this place. And I love it when there's a live session, because we can really feed back. But even though this is a recording, I would like you to be interactive with me, right? And actually that being interactive with me is what's going to help you integrate this. So when you think trauma, and let's just have that as a sentence, trauma is, and if you've got a journal or a notebook, or you can just think it in your mind, when you think trauma is, what do you think of? Trauma is what? Trauma is what? And I'm actually going to get music ready, because we're going to close our eyes and do a meditative process. Trauma is what? Right? When I start to speak about trauma, and it is changing. When I start to speak about trauma, what I hear a lot of people say is trauma is sexual abuse, trauma is war, trauma is extreme, horrifying situations that only happen to some people. And what I also see is, as adults, we rationalize experiences from our childhood and make them smaller than they are, and actually don't honor the impact that they had on us then and they have on us now. So I want to give you a completely different definition of trauma, a completely different definition of trauma that I love to share with my people. And trauma is simply something that happens to you, usually in childhood, but it can happen whenever, okay, that is too big or too fast for you to emotionally process in that moment. That's all it is. On a nervous system level, and I'm not going to go into the nervous system today, even though it is really important. It's something, again, that is too big or too fast for your nervous system to process. On an emotional level, it's something that's too big and too fast for you to process. Trauma happens on all 4 levels that I just described. Isn't that wild? So if we're trying to deal with the impact of trauma on our bodies, we're actually dealing from it, from the lowest plane of existence, not worst, it's just the lowest. It's hardest to change matter. Einstein says this, you know, you have to go up a level. What is it? It's like, oh, his thing is like, you can't fix a problem at the level that it was created, right? You have to go up. And I love to use that when we're talking about healing in these 4 planes. Someone's going to know the exact quote. It's left my mind now. Something like that. So when we look at trauma from the emotional level, what's happening is that when a memory or an experience is too big or too fast to process emotionally, is that that emotion gets stuck in the body, right? And, you know, there are actually machines to detect this and to see this now. And what it looks like when an emotion is stuck in the body is like this kind of almost globe, right? That is in your body, and that can be fear, or that can be anxiety, or that can be nervousness, and that can be shame, that can be anger, resentment. And when something is too big or too fast, what happens is that you're not fully feeling it. And that's the key piece. It's not that these emotions are bad, because this has been really, really confused in the personal development field. You know, only feel positive things, don't feel negative things. No, it's not that these emotions are bad. The problem is that we haven't been taught to feel things. We've been taught to repress things. Now, if we experience fear and we allow the fear to be, the fear doesn't get repressed. The fear is felt, right? When we're actually fully present with an emotion, it takes 90 seconds to feel and clear, right? That sensation of that emotion that won't go is telling you that there is resistance to fully feel it. And when there is resistance to fully feel it, that's when it gets stuck in the body. Now, when we have an emotion that is stuck in the body, it has consequences, okay? And this is how you can do all the right things that we're told for our health and healing and still not feel good. So let's say you've got rage, okay? And you've got this globe of rage and it's stuck in your body. On a physical level, very often we feel stuck emotions through pain in the body, numbness, discomfort, tension. That's all telling me that there is an emotion there, okay? Now, if you want to go deeper into that, and that this is such a huge topic, I wouldn't do it justice, so I'm going to give it a couple of sentences. And this is only for those of you that have an understanding of the nervous system. If you don't have an understanding of the nervous system, just let this go through one ear and out the other. On a nervous system level, okay, if you've got lots of emotions stuck in your body, that can be causal to keeping a nervous system in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. A person that is living chronically in an alert response is going to have a cascade of health complications. Okay, so mental health diagnoses traced back on nervous systems that are extremely dysregulated, people with a lot of pain and stuck emotion. Chronic conditions like hormone imbalance, endometriosis, PCOS, fibromyalgia, depression, all of these things can be traced back to a nervous system that is chronically on alert. And actually that's the epidemic that we live in now. We live in an epidemic of humans that have dysregulated nervous systems. It's huge, it's big stuff. And that's what I'm going to leave it at for the physical plane. Okay, so let's go back to when we don't fully feel an emotion, it gets stuck on the body. Now, what is also not taught, because we are really deepening into emotions being stuck in the body, and this is really powerful, but deeper than this, what happens when we have an emotion stuck in the body is very often we create limiting thoughts and beliefs in the brain. When we experience an intense emotion, when it's negative, whatever thought you have in that moment will be impressed into the unconscious mind. When we have a thought with intense emotion, it goes very, very quickly from a conscious thought that's just passing through my brain to neurological networks, okay? And I'm going to give you an example to make this tangible for you. Let me give you a moment of trauma in my life, so you can see this and you can see how small these moments can be. I was experiencing a pattern in my life when I was younger, when I was a business owner, and I was thriving successfully and professionally, and my love life, my relationships weren't thriving. And it was something that was very frustrating for me. And I thought to myself, okay, I know, because I've been doing this work for a long time, that whatever I'm experiencing in my outer life is a match to my inner life. Therefore, I'm going to assume that there has been a moment of trauma that I'm holding within me that is a match to this experience. And so I did a process, and this is a process that I do with my clients, and I tracked back. And the emotion that was in my body was unworthiness, right? And the memory, the time that this was tracked, was a memory, and I always share this as an example because it's so powerful. I was a little girl, and to this moment, you know, my dad had only showed me love, and one day I go to him and I open my arms and I'm like, Daddy, can I have a hug, you know? And he says, not now, Hanny, I'm busy. And I felt so ashamed that I'd opened for a hug and he'd rejected me. And that felt so big as a child, even though obviously it wasn't a big deal as an adult. And the emotion that I felt was that unworthiness, and that unworthiness got trapped in my body because that feeling was so strong. The thought that I had in my head is that love and work is incompatible. Love and work is incompatible. And that's seared in my unconscious mind. And when we have a belief system in our unconscious mind, right, then we unconsciously live out that pattern in adulthood. And so unconsciously, because I believed that to be true, I kept creating it. And when I went back and I cleared that unworthiness, and I rewrote that pattern in my unconscious mind and shifted it to love and work is compatible, well, that's when I met my partner. It was that year, right? And you can't make this shit up. So from that example, you can start to see that trauma are tiny, tiny, tiny moments, and they're not our parents' fault, right? It's how we experience them. And it's what we think when we have that moment of emotional intensity. So we can see that trauma affects us on the physical, trauma affects us on the emotional, right? With that trapped set of emotions. Trauma happens on the mental, on the unconscious, and then it impacts your adult life. And it sabotages us in ways that we don't realize, right? And on the spiritual, because we all have a soul's journey, sometimes we don't live out our full potential because of these limits that we've placed on ourselves, these thoughts, right? Through trauma. And then on the energetic, what happens is we get like little, it causes like wounds in our field, right? And so when we start to think about healing, we want to be healing from the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and the energetic. But here's the extraordinary thing: when we learn how to heal from the mental, the emotional, the energetic, that's where I primarily work with trauma, that has a ripple effect down to the physical plane. And you see that people have remarkable physical healing through doing that trauma work in their physical body, but also in their physical lives. And this is what I really want people to know, because I've seen it transform my life as well as my clients. And it's important, big, powerful work. And so if you're looking at this and you're like, I need this in my life, I'm going to guide you through a process so you can experience this in yourself. But I also want you to know that I certify people in modalities in all of these planes. It's my greatest passion, it's my deepest desire for people to be trained all over the world in these multiple modalities, in this understanding of how it all fits together, so we can all really start to break free from the binds, which are invisible, that trauma has on our bodies and our lives. So if you're feeling called to that, please just write me a message and let's speak and let's talk. I have 2 levels of certification programs. One is this multiple modality approach, and I also teach a lot about business and money and wealth, and combining that with this trauma work, because again, it's one of the same. Many of us are living limited financial lives because of stuck emotions that we have in our bodies around money. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing, and I really want to speak to this even though I wasn't going to speak to this, is trauma is passed down generational lines. This is something that is being discovered now with the science of epigenetics, right? Everything that I'm sharing with you can actually be, you know, if you are one of these people that like to read the studies and the science, which I know I am, I love investigation and research, and I think it's so powerful to bring together this ancient wisdom with the science, right? Again, this is the multiple dimensionality being brought together, right? We don't have to choose, we can have it all in one place. What we're seeing now is that children become attuned to their primary caregivers between 0 and 2, to their nervous system. So if you have a primary caregiver that is living in alert, that is living in stress, through eye movement, isn't this remarkable, right? How incredible the human bodies are. We actually attune to our caregivers, and that's passed down to us. So I had a beautiful mother who loved me so much, but she wasn't connected to her own needs. She wasn't connected to her body, and she was chronically stressed. So both of her daughters went on to have chronic health conditions with the underpinning of stress, because we unconsciously learned that too. And it's really interesting because both of us have gone on to do this work and to heal things that aren't normally healed. My sister had a condition called IC, and she's symptom free, even though she was told that that would be lifelong chronic pain condition. So I hope you can see how important this is. So trauma is passed down on a physical level, on a body level. Stuck emotions can also be passed down. There's a book called The Emotion Code that explains this in more depth. Dr. Bradley Nelson actually came on into my school and taught, and it was just extraordinary. And we have emotion code practitioners in my school too. And it's also passed down in beliefs. I'm like, how much am I going to share today? How much am I going to just leave? Because I don't want to overwhelm you. But trauma is also passed down in beliefs. And if we go back to that mental plane of like, let's imagine I didn't heal that and I held that belief that work and love isn't compatible, I would pass that down to my children. And then they would continue to live that limitation. So what's been really powerful for me and continues to be really powerful for my clients is that I was born into a family where a lot of trauma was passed down, even though I was loved deeply, because please know there is a huge difference between trauma being passed down and love. Many parents adore their children, love their children, they're doing the best they know how, they're just not educated on this, right? So I'm just really grounding this into compassion. And honestly, it's my belief, and it's why I'm doing this. I believe in a world where instead of passing down the trauma like many of us have experienced, that we get to get educated and we get to pass down transgenerational healing. For me, the depth and the importance of this work isn't just for ourselves, but for those that come after us, and actually starting to shape a new world in this light, because it is possible. So I want you to reflect for a second on what areas of your life you would like to heal, how this is relevant to you, on whether you would love to become a practitioner, if you would just, I have also another course where we just teach you the tools and the techniques. You don't have to get certified, you can just experience this. And I have private clients as well. So if you're feeling called or pulled to any of these, please reach out and let's have a conversation. I'm not here to push you to buy something that you don't desire to buy. I'm here to let you know the services that I offer and actually create a space for you to make an empowered decision. So the best bet is always to message me and I can direct you on the next steps, or if it even is your next step or appropriate for you. And now I just want to kind of ground into a process so that you can start to experience this and take this from here to actually living this in your body. So I really, sometimes we avoid the process, we just listen to the thing because we're so used to listening to the thing in the car or doing all the things. What if we just gave ourselves 10 minutes to allow ourselves to ground this into the body? Because it's really important. You can pause me. That's the beauty of having a pre-recording. You can pause me and get yourself comfy, but I'm going to go straight into this. Okay. Again, closing your eyes and inhaling through your nose. Exhaling through your mouth. 2 more times. Maybe stretching your body, your head. And just giving yourself permission for this to be whatever it needs to be. Not setting any expectations, not needing it to be anything. And I just want you to think of a problem, something that's not working for you right now as you desire. Just bringing it to your consciousness. And as you think of this problem, just asking yourself, what do you feel? What emotion is there? Can you name it? Can you track it in your body? Maybe bringing your hand to a place in your body where you feel it. What are the sensations in this emotion? Can you allow yourself to be fully present with it? Because we know that when we give an emotion presence, it gives an opportunity for it to clear on its own, but not needing it to go away. Just practicing being with that feeling. And then gently asking yourself, when was the first time I felt this? And just watching a memory pop up. It may feel like a memory that's not connected. It may not make logical sense. Don't try and think of it from the minds. Just try to allow that memory to appear in your consciousness. And if nothing comes, just asking yourself, what would it be if I knew? And just allowing yourself, without pressure or judgment, to ask that question, what would it be if I knew? And as we go into this memory, just allowing yourself to take a few details in what's happening. And then again, tracking back to the body, what's the emotion that I felt in this memory? Maybe you can start to see a thought appear. What did you tell yourself? What did you tell yourself that made you not feel loved or less than worthy or not safe? What did you tell yourself that limited you? And how did that make you feel? Again, tracking those sensations, those feelings in the body. And just through gentle curiosity, allow yourself to zoom forward in your life. How does this limiting belief still affect you? How does it still show up in your life? How does it affect who you are becoming in this world? You may feel the tears start to come. You may find it difficult to connect. All is good. You can come back as many times as you need to practice this. And then making a conscious decision. Is this what you want? Is this what you want? The answer is no. We come back to the body and we come back to that feeling and we come back to that emotion, and we're going to practice being in absolute presence with it so it can clear naturally. It can move through the body. What sensations do you feel when you feel this emotion? What color would this emotion be if it was a color? What sound would this emotion make if it was a sound? Can you allow yourself to express this emotion through sound? Letting go of what you look like. If this emotion was a shape, what shape would it be? And just noticing what happens to the emotion when we're with it, when we allow it to be, when we don't push it away. You may feel that you want to express this emotion further. If so, feel free to pause me if you've practiced emotional release before, and just allowing that emotion to move through your body, through embodiment. If that's completely new to you, don't worry, stay with me. Stay feeling the emotion. And we're going to go back to that childhood memory or that adult memory, and we're going to ask that version of you, what did you need then to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel worthy? And just watch what they say to you. Maybe it was a hug, a love, to feel accepted. And just ask yourself, can you give that to you now? Can you give that to you now? You are an adult now. And you get to be a better parent for that beautiful inner child part of you, that younger version. Maybe a new belief pops into your mind, something that you need to believe that's going to change the course of your life. Make a mental note of that. And just visualizing you telling that younger part of you that you're going to give them what they needed then now, and that you're here to look after them. Giving them a hug and embrace in your mind's eye, and bringing that version of you close into your heart. And making a commitment to self that every time that you get triggered around this situation, this problem, this thing, that you're going to come back to this need and that you're going to give it to yourself. And in this way that you are step by step, day by day, slowly going to practice learning to reparent you, to heal your own trauma and become a self-healer. You're that powerful. Inviting you to give yourself a hug, an embrace, a kiss, a hand on your heart, whatever soothes and comforts you. Just reminding yourself that you've got you, you've got you. And again, maybe wanting to pause this recording and journal on what you needed then to remind yourself to give it to you every time that you need it now. Maybe writing down that new belief. Maybe writing down the new feeling, the new frequency that is present. And just asking yourself, what do I need now? Maybe it's a pause, a break, a walk. Maybe it's to dive into a project that you've been putting off. Maybe it's to finally book that meeting. Maybe it's to actually start dating. And your invitation is to implement that now, today. Opening your eyes, coming back to the room. I can't wait to hear from you all. It's been a pleasure guiding you today. I hope this serves you on your life's journey. I hope to be in touch. All my links and all my information will be below, and I'll be seeing you soon on some sphere, I'm sure. I hope you all have a truly, truly wonderful day. It's been a pleasure.